Story.
Yes, I'm here again. Wow, with Torrey Shine, who's got two shows. One is a solo show called Don't Stop Believing, and the other one is a solo sampler where all the other people around Fringe with solo shows can come and do a little bit of their show. How's it going?
It's really fantastic. I'm having a wonderful Fringe this year.
Yeah, so no, I better ask more questions.
Oh, no, sorry.
What Don't Stop Believing about?
So Don't Stop Believing, that's my solo show. It's a coming of age story infused with the music and culture of the 1980s. So it's kind of a merge of some experiences from my own life, as well as themes from iconic movies, and kind of classic experiences of the decade all fused together.
Wow! So it's a one-person show.
Yes.
And is it got music in it?
So there are more than 250 songs from the 1980s, but there's no instrumental. We're gonna do it all a cappella.
Yeah.
So all of the dialogue is song lyrics, all of the narration is song lyrics, and I do also sing song lyrics. And they're usually mashed up together, kind of like Moulin Rouge.
Yeah, so do people come and they're like, I know where that's from, and they do a little game while they're also watching it. So they're into it, but also sort of one eye on the, whoa, I see what you've done all the way through it.
Yeah, you can tell. There's certain references that people often get, and you can kind of hear the murmur. Like I can tell when there's a lot of people that get this.
Yeah.
Every now and then there's some obscure reference that somebody gets, and you can kind of hear it in their voice. And I tell them in the beginning, like that's part of the fun of the show, so it's okay to be like, that was Bananarama, like that's, and then sometimes they'll sing along or hum along during the singing parts.
Have you had good audiences this year?
I've had really good audiences.
They've been plentiful and also helped you to do the show.
They've been really reactive. The numbers have been great. I sold out yesterday. Today was probably 80% capacity. But yeah, they've just been very active. And there's been a couple shows where they're all singing along. Like they catch. It depends how quickly they catch the song I'm singing.
Yeah.
Because it switches so quickly. But there's been so many times where they've just been very participatory and interactive. People leave laughing and smiling. It's been really fun.
Well, that's what you want really out of a show. So you brought this show last year, did you?
I did.
Yeah. And do you find there's a difference this year to last year on the audiences and is Edinburgh different this year?
Yeah. Well, so last year was my first time at the Edinburgh Fringe, and I joined pretty late in the game. I think it was probably April when I applied, which is really late for people that don't know that. And it was the world debut of this show. It started, I think the first day was only 35 minutes long, and I kind of just kept building it over the month. And I've been touring it this year, so I've brought it to a number of festivals in the US.
So is it slightly different to last year then?
It's different, yeah. It's expanded, it's much more polished. I have a lot more interesting choreography and kind of movement, bringing out the drama.
Yeah, because I saw it last year, and there's more to it than that. Wow, that's really exciting. And have you got any plans for it after this? Like next year of the world?
We'll see. So I'm bringing the show to the Rochester Fringe Festival in September.
Yeah.
So I have 2 dates in September. That's all I have planned. When I came here, I thought, after that I might retire it and start writing another show. But we'll see. It's doing so well here, so it's hard to let go of a successful show.
Well, you could do another one, but still have that on the back burner. Yeah. It's like, do you want that one? Then you've got if you did a tour, it's like I've got all these things, like a book of different things. That might be a thing.
That's sort of like your show.
Yeah, accidentally spot my show. My show is more I can't be bothered to do it today, so what can you do today? But your show, no, what I mean more is like you've got like a repertory of a repertoire and a repertory of all your different things. That would be quite cool. You can go, I can do that one day and that one the other day. What about the solo shows that people are bringing? Have you got a lot of people coming to you?
Yeah, we've my other show is new this year. It's the solo show sampler series. We've been getting good crowds. It's early in the morning. It's 11:05, so there's not a lot of people out, but there's also fewer shows, which is nice. We've been getting about 20 or 30 people in the audience for that one, plus the performers, which is almost another 10 people. But when I came here last year for the first time, I noticed there were all of these compilation shows devoted to stand-up comedy. And if you were a comic, you could find all of these opportunities to do a 5-minute bit. but there were so many fewer opportunities for other types of samples. And for me, I did, I think, 14 compilation kind of spots on different shows, but only once could I actually just give a preview of what my show is.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Otherwise, I was sort of expected to do a 5-minute funny section on a theme usually.
Yeah.
So it felt like a gap. So that was kind of my vision in the solo show sampler
That's
series.
very, very. It's kind and generous, and also innovative, and also very exciting, and all those things. But have you done solos? Have you done spots on other people's shows this year?
This year, no. I am opening for a show next week. But yeah, I guess kind of in doing 2 shows a day, I felt like organizing the compilation show. All of the acts I really want to see are coming to my show.
Yeah.
Right? Like I get to see, it's a show I want to see, which is great.
You just, I want to see your show, come to me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, come to me. So yeah, we have between 5 to 7 people, and every day is different.
Yeah.
So I have, I think, like it's over 120, maybe 125
So
people over the month.
Yeah. And are you planning to do that sort of thing in other fringes as well?
We'll see. I don't. It was kind of experimental this year.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot more work than I expected.
Organisation.
Yeah, the organization and just trying to balancing the lineup every day. Trying to have a mix of styles.
Yeah.
But it's been incredibly rewarding. If I come back to Edinburgh, I would love to do it here again.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be really great. Now, you came last year and you come this year, and do you find that it's something that you want to do again? Is it like that's me done, or are you like next year another one?
I would. I mean,
you definitely do. I mean, you just said you do.
Yeah.
Like, still a week to go though, so maybe
There's a week to go. I mean, no, there's nothing quite like it here. I would love to come back. It just depends kind of what's happening in my life in the future.
I mean, that's true.
Am I able to take a month and live in a different country? If so, I would absolutely come back. I already kind of have a vision. If I did come back next year, I think I would do my 80s solo show.
Yeah.
So I'm getting a good audience and I'm getting good tips from it. So it's kind of paying for the trip. Then the solo sampler, which is just incredibly rewarding.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of breaking even on that, or maybe making, we'll see.
Well, that's good.
And then I have a third sort of more narrative personal show that I'm writing that I would love to do, but it's kind of a little more risky.
Well, I mean, you can sort of bankroll it by doing the others as well, I suppose. Yeah, but you'll be surprised what people do, want to see and what is popular. Because always when you think, oh, that'll be popular, and it's like, no, that's something. Well, this is my experimental show, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Critical acclaim and all the money. It's just very random, really.
Yes.
Yeah. And have you met a lot of people while you're up here?
It's amazing. Yeah, so many people. Like it's funny, you come here, for me, I have a solo show. I wrote it, I'm producing it, I'm the performer, it's just me. I do all my own graphics. And I came here alone last year, and I knew a few people, but by the end of the summer, because all of, tourists, they come and go for a weekend, but the artists are all here for the whole month.
Yeah.
And by the end of the month, you know all these people on the street. And coming back this year, with everything I learned, with the sampler I'm running, and then there are all of these different groups.
Yeah.
Like these WhatsApp chats and Instagram group chats, like American artists or solo show artists, female solo show artists.
You found all the people that you need to find.
There's just these incredible communities of other people doing the exact same thing, and I just feel like every day it gets richer and richer in that respect.
That's good. And have you found connections that will help you with your career as well as people that will support you?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is exchanging feedback.
Yeah.
As well, like I've given tips to people when I kind of see here's a piece of information that would really help you, and I receive those as well. So I feel like I get good advice from people, and then when you're traveling in different places, have all of these other contacts. So I can't see why it wouldn't.
No. And how are you finding the experience with PBH in particular? Is that helping?
Yeah, PBH is amazing. I'm so glad. Yeah, last year for my first time, I didn't really know anything about it. Like I'd read a lot, and I had offers from some of the other paid venues, ticketed venues, and I went with PBH, which I'm so grateful for. My venue is lovely. It's great. Slow Progress Records on Blackfriars Street. It's like a family-run coffee shop with records. The room can hold almost 50 people, and I feel like with the Free Fringe, it's easier to get an audience.
Yeah.
Like it's easier to get people to take a chance, and then if you put on a good show, they do tip.
Yeah.
Right. Where so many people, especially last year, this year as well, people I know in the ticketed venues, are having, like, sometimes canceling shows with no audience, or single digits are very common, and it's just very stressful.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, because there's no tickets, there is a chance to like see it before you buy it, and so you can pay for it afterwards rather than before. Whereas, taking a choice on anything is quite difficult. I mean, it is good that so many people want to pay, but I mean, it's not obligatory.
Yeah.
So have you had people that have just been like, we've got no money?
Totally. Yeah.
It's fine. Yeah.
That's what I say. We have like the bucket speech that you give at the end. So I say, like, you get to decide what you think it's worth and what you can afford, and whatever the intersection of those is. And if that's nothing, right? Like, I'm glad PBH, it makes Fringe accessible for me, and then my show is accessible to anyone. And I kind of say, like, if you're in a position where you can support the arts, then do.
Yeah, exactly. And that is quite good, because it's sort of everyone's subsidising the people that really can't afford it, as long as there are people that can.
Yeah.
How society should really work. Yeah. But it's not necessarily how it is. So you're probably coming back next year, and you're going to the Rochester Fringe. Are there any other big plans, maybe not even Fringe related, that you're like, I can take this, I can make this into something else?
We'll see. I mean, so this last year I did several Fringe festivals. Their applications haven't opened yet.
Yeah.
So I don't know which ones I would get into. I did New York City Fringe, which was amazing. I live in New York. So I think I might apply for that with my new show that I'm writing, just to force myself to actually write it. And then there's Orlando Fringe, which is also a very competitive lottery to get into. So I'll apply for that, maybe also with the new show. We'll see. But yeah, so there's several festivals that I'm very interested in, but it's the time frames of when you would get accepted and get a slot haven't happened yet, so I don't actually know.
I mean, unless you already know, planning the whole year, if you're doing touring, must be difficult at the best of times, really. But you're based in New York. Is the art scene in New York all it's cracked up to be? Is there any central place, or is it just like there's different pockets of things?
I mean, there are a lot of pockets. It's about neighborhoods, right? I feel like New York is still rebounding from like post-pandemic, or post the worst of the pandemic. I guess we're still in it technically. A lot of venues closed, and a lot of places are still don't have the numbers that they used to. Like, people aren't going out quite as much as they were. But there's incredible scenes. I mean, New York City Fringe was bigger this year than it's ever been. They expanded the number of venues. They moved it from February to April. I think that was a good call. It's a lot warmer.
Yeah.
So that helps. But yeah, I feel like there's a lot of venues that I really enjoy. Like Caveat in Lower East Side has really original shows, and a lot of the types of shows you might see at Fringe. The Magnet Theater, I do a lot of improv there, and some sketch, and sometimes they host the same kind of shows that we might see at a festival like this.
So the way it is, I mean, is there a sort of up-and-coming scene and then you move on to greater and bigger things, or is it just like you don't need to move on, you've got everything you need there?
I mean, I love living in New York City. I feel like the people there, the people in my network there are just so motivated. They're so smart and so creative and just really ambitious, and like there's just things happening every day, and I really enjoy that. So that's a good fit for me and kind of the speed of my life.
Yeah, because I don't really know that much. I know a few years ago there was something called the Green Room, somebody called Cal Winters that brought a lot of New York and American-based comedians over here, and they had like a little hub here, and they were based but he's no longer with us. So are there any sort of impresarios and like people that are like, hey, I'm the mainstay and the tent peg and they're making things go, or is it just like you find your own opportunity?
I'm sure there are, because it depends on the scene, right? Like different people kind of motivate different things forward. It's interesting, I'm not super tapped into the Fringe network there. Because I'm sort of newer. It's my first full year in that circuit.
Oh, right.
So I'm like, I have a longer background.
Yeah.
I have a longer background in like slam poetry and storytelling. So I know
everywhere seagulls.
I know those scenes better. The kind of the solo show. I didn't even really know solo shows were a thing until during the pandemic, doing some online classes and realizing.
So you come from more of a slam poetry background. Have you been doing that for a long time?
I've been doing that for like 20 plus years.
Wow. Yeah. So do you know all the people on that circuit?
I know a lot. Yes.
Are there a lot of them over here this year?
Not
so much.
There's a couple, I guess. Yeah, a couple that I know who are here. I haven't been active in that for the past 5+ years.
Well, nobody's been very active in anything.
But yeah, there was a time when I went 2 or 3 nights a week to Poetry Slam for a long time. I did all these national tournaments, and I very much knew that scene. Where for Fringe, it's interesting because it's all of these. You go to a festival and it's a mix of locals, kind of, and regional people, and then the traveling touring shows. And it's every festival I go to, I know more and more people. So that's really special.
I think that's a good thing too. I think that once you've gone to a few festivals, you've got more of a sort of community, and you can see who people are and where they fit in. That's a good thing. So I'm very glad that you're with BBH this year and that you're enjoying yourself. Because sometimes people feel a bit isolated. It's a good job with a one-person show. It can be a little bit isolated. So I'm glad that you've got people. Because I saw you at the there was like a networking event for one people's shows.
Yes.
Did you meet a lot of people there?
I met a few. I could only stay for a little bit because I had a show that overlapped. It was a lot of people that I had met briefly or through these WhatsApp groups.
Yeah.
So I feel like I have a lot of connections I've made through. I think that's one thing. I don't know if it was COVID that did this, but a lot of online organization increased during that era, and so we have a lot of these networks where people that have been chatting with, and then it's like, oh, now I get to meet you in person.
Yay! You look different from your picture.
Right. Yeah, I feel like Fringe is hard, right? Today I had a great show. Yesterday I had a great show. A couple days ago, it was rough. I had like people who were translating the show in the front row to a relative, like speaking every time I would speak. But they didn't start until the show started. Yeah. And I'm trying to preserve my voice, and I couldn't turn up the sound anymore. So you have these moments of, and it's nice to have kind of these groups of people you could be like, this just happened, and just supporting each other through those ups and downs.
But it was mostly good.
Yeah.
They mostly understood it and didn't interrupt the rest of it.
It was incredibly disruptive. And then they left halfway through. They're like, we have another show we have to go to. It's like, why did you come? It was like I was still in good spirits because I feel like I've learned to take those things as they come.
See, that is one thing. Although it is good that people come and mostly stay till the end and mostly reward you for the work you put in and go, yay, that's amazing. There are also people that go, I've got a paid show to go to, and that are you finding there's any of those? Is that just? I mean, they went somewhere else. Are you finding that mostly isn't happening with you?
They're like mostly not. So the room I perform in gets really warm. We fit 50 people in a room that it's very tight. So it gets really warm, and so sometimes people have left and they'll say to the front, like, I'm sorry, it's so hot. Sometimes people will walk out, but usually, I'd say 95% of people stay through the show.
That's good. That's a high rate.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm going to say today I didn't really do much work for it, so I didn't have that many people, but I did have somebody that says, I've got to go at 3 o'clock. It's like, okay, this show is supposed to be until at least 20 past, but so I knew that they were going to go. But it was like they announced it just when I'm starting my show.
I like it. So if they're going to leave early, I appreciate it if they tell you.
Appreciate it, yeah.
So
There
were 2 people today that told me in the beginning, we're going to have to leave, but we really want to see your show.
Yeah. I mean, I still appreciated it. He laughed. It was a good audience, and I knew that we only had him for a certain amount of time. So yeah, probably appreciate it.
It was funny because I pointed to the bucket. I was like, if you want to make a donation on your way out, which they did.
Yeah, oh, that's good.
But I didn't know how long they could stay, and so there were several moments where there's kind of a dramatic pause, and I kept kind of thinking like, this would be a good time to go, right? Like, this would be a good, because you don't want them to get up in the middle of like that unexpectedly, vivid moment. But they stayed a lot longer than I thought. Like they left, it was maybe 10 minutes before it was over.
They really wanted to see it, but they had something to go with it. It's difficult. Yes. Anyway, I hope that you have a successful rest of your run, and it all continues to be sold out. It's not really sold out, but it needs
at capacity.
At capacity, and that everybody gives you all the money that they can give you, and everybody's happy, and it's all joyful and wonderful. Thank you very much for being with PBH, and thank you very much for talking to me as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. show again this year. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
And also Slow Progress at what time every day?
It's at 1600, so at 4 p.m. at Slow Progress Records on Blackfriars.
Yeah, it's a nice, lovely venue, and you can browse the records and have a little coffee while you're waiting for it.
It's true.
Right. All right.
Great, thanks so much. Bye.